perspective might be. But under constitutional democracy, we know that everything else must pass the rational test. There must be good reason why. And it doesn't matter whether the majority agree or not. Parliamentary democracy, once the majority agree, even if it's wrong, it becomes right. Constitutional democracy, if majority agree, it must still pass the rational test, and if it doesn't pass the rational test, even if the majority have agreed, it becomes and it remains unreasonable. So we must do everything in our power to defend the constitutional democracy, because it is the one that makes the authorities to always think and give reason to every action. Because majority of our people don't want to be held accountable, particularly politicians. They think they are inherently powerful and no one should actually hold them accountable. So the rule of law in a South African context also introduces institutions like Chapter 9 institutions. We have an institution of the public protector, which people wanted to undermine because they had the majority. But the Constitution and the rule of law dictated that we should respect the office of the public protector, because it's there to make sure that we adhere to the Constitution and it continues to protect those who may not have the resources to afford you, the lawyers, to go and defend them when their rights are being violated. So if the rule of law was not there, such an important component of our democracy called the office of the public protector would have been rendered useless. There was a temptation to render that office useless, to render that office toothless, because people thought that the majority and political office is more powerful than the rule of law. So we defended that and said the Chapter 9 institutions, which derives their existence from our Constitution, must be respected and must be defended. And that's why today that office has got teeth. But the person who occupies that office today may not have the mouth to exercise the biting of the teeth. So the teeth are hanging there in the absence of the mouth, and therefore the teeth becomes useless. So we may have to look for the mouth, because that's what politicians did upon realizing how powerful this institution is. They then went to look for a way they can use to undermine the very same institution that we thought was protected. So when you are advancing the rule of law, there are people who are also working towards undermining the same rule of law. And that's bad thing, that's a negativity about democracy. Because democracy produces its own enemies. Because it's so democratic, it even allows enemies to emerge against it. So they look at it and say, this is how a democratic dispensation works. How do we, within the same democracy, maneuver to undermine the rule of law? So what happened in the Public Protector's Office today was a direct undermining of the rule of law. So we have a responsibility as lawmakers ourselves to ensure that in as much as we protect institutions of democracy, we shouldn't fail when it comes to ensure that correct people are being deployed. So if there was no rule of law in South Africa, we will still have our country today in the pocket of a Gupta family. because many people say Zuma was removed by civil society. Many people say Zuma was removed by political parties, including the EFF. But that's not true. Zuma's removal was conducted by the courts, by the judiciary. Because judiciary is there to ensure that bad things are done. So if the judiciary was compromised and did not apply the rule of law, but instead became politically in its approach, will still have those shenanigans continuing today. This is what the court did in application of the rule of law. They said Zuma violated his oath of office. And they left it at that. Because the court have got a way of talking. You know it better than me. They cannot say Zuma must go, because that will be an interference both in the executive and in the legislature. But they just said Zuma violated his oath of office. So you lawmakers, you voters, would have to ask yourself questions as to what is the word of the oath of office. If it is word, the paper written on, then you will know that the court says it's not fit to occupy office. So we used that to justify Zuma's removal from office. Everybody else will not argue differently, including those who wanted to do so, because the court had made a pronouncement. If you had a rule of law and courts that were compromised, the court will be involved in politics and take into consideration the political dynamics and who is in office when coming to determinations. So it's important that the judiciary continues to be independent, and we must protect the independence of the judiciary, including on decisions that we do not agree with. But it doesn't mean we cannot criticize the judiciary. All of us, lawmakers, the executive, including the judiciary, we must be held accountable. We're not going to have judges doing as they wish because they think that they are above the Constitution. We cannot have judges walking drunk, causing accidents, and when approached and people want to hold them accountable, they say no, it's racism, because they do not want to be held accountable. No. Once you are drunk and you are found compromised like that as a judge, and a caring judge that wants to protect the good image of the judiciary, you ought to recuse yourself, because you are undermining the saying that says you are sober like a judge. Since the incident in question happened, people are no longer saying you are sober like a judge. They say you are sober like a chief justice. Because they are scared that these judges might repeat what happened to the other judge. So just one action can undermine the whole beautiful image of the judiciary. And when the case of such a misbehaving judge drags forever and is not brought to finality, it continues to hurt the good image of the judiciary. And once you erode the image of the judiciary, you equally erode its authority in society. And without the biting teeth of the judiciary, we can all take our bags and ask Australia not to welcome only white farmers and welcome us also. nothing left of all of us here. In the absence of judiciary, your wife is going to be raped by the police, by the soldiers, and there's nothing you can do because they are above the law. I don't want to talk about complicated. I want to bring it closer to home. They are going to walk in, take your children, rape them in front of you. There is nothing you can do because there is no recourse. One, it started with a drunk judge, and other judges became drunk because the other one was untouchable, and eventually judges were no longer being held accountable, and then they lost control. And once they lose control, all of us are in trouble. Imagine if these judges had lost control under the Guptas, we will be in a much, much more deeper crisis. Because the Guptas, even when they were exposed that you are doing this, they didn't stop. Because somebody told them they were powerful. Until the court said, you are going to have to stop now. This is unacceptable. So when the executive, three arms of the state, the executive is compromised, the legislature is compromised, you only have the judiciary which is still standing. Imagine if that leg of the state was also compromised. There wouldn't be Malema yet. I would be killed before I even try to get the one in parliament. So no one would have raised the issues we raised against the state capture. We all did that because we know we've got the judiciary to protect us. All of us are subjected to that judiciary. So we don't want a compromised judiciary. Judiciary must not suffer from a political expedience. Like there is a temptation now with the new Ramaphosa that things have changed. It's so nice. He's not a bad guy, you know. And then judges get tempted to also say he's not a bad guy. The bad guys also appear in white suits. Eh? They are not going to appear in red or black suits or anything else. They will dress up for the occasion and destroy. So no judge will even consider who is in the office at all times. The judges must look at the facts. Doesn't matter whether the government is the government of Cyril Ramaphosa or not. Cyril has proven to all of us that for profit he can do anything. And if you doubt that, just refresh your memory and go to YouTube and look at what happened in Malema for profit. So a man with such history, the court must be there to protect the defenseless masses of our people and not consider the political environment. The court cannot be politically correct. No court must be politically correct. Once the court is politically correct, then you are compromised the society. The court must apply the law. Once the judgment is correct in terms of law, then it is politically correct. It doesn't have to be the other way around. It doesn't have to be politically correct for it to be legally correct in law. It has to be correct in law for it to be politically correct. But many people think you must appease the status quo. And once the status quo is happy, it means the law is correct. No. Let the law be applied to all of us, irrespective of our political office. So I'll give you an example about the Commissioner of SARS, Tom Moyami. Tom Moyami faces a disciplinary inquiry for misconduct, something that I agree with. When we are busy taking Tom Moyani through the process of a disciplinary hearing, we introduce a parallel process of inquiry into SARS and how we can help the president to come up with better policies to shape up SARS to operate in a manner that it will collect proper revenue for our people. So when those things run concurrently, Moyani becomes the center stage in both inquiries. And we say to the president, your intention for sure was not to have Moyani tried in both at the same time. You wanted the process to develop a policy perspective so that you can do the right thing. But from where we are standing, it looks like these inquiries are both about Moyani. Can we suspend one and finish this one first, and then we can then introduce the other one much later when we have exhausted the first one? Then the president doesn't want to listen. They say, no, these things are two separate things. The lawyers come and argue so beautifully. And we say, look, legally and all that, you might have points. But justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. So once this man appears to be a victim of an onslaught, you are going to turn a gangster into a hero. Because South Africans sympathize easily with a victim. You are turning Moyani into a victim, and they thought I was mad. Then they went to put chains on Zuma's son. A real pack, they put chains on him. Immediately, that criminal became a hero. Pictures of white people and other dangerous criminals who appeared before courts without chains were shown. But why the rest of these people do not have chains? Why this one? Because people see you victimizing even a potential criminal, and therefore sympathize quickly with that criminal. So how you handle matters before you, as the leadership, as the judiciary, as the legal fraternity, it is very important that you don't convert thugs into heroes. Yes, the law defends you, you've got all the right to run them both, but through the naked eye, particularly ourselves as laymen who don't know the law, we see it as victimizing those who served under Zuma's administration. And therefore, it is unacceptable. Even in the township where I come from, Sicily, I grew up in an area where there was too much crime. We will catch people and we'll beat them up. As we beat them up, the old people marry. Why are you still beating him up after arresting him? Hand him over to the police. Now people come into defense of a criminal because of how you are handling the criminal. Because justice must not be done only. It must be seen to be done. And we need that type of rule of law in South Africa if our democracy is going to succeed. We must never fall into a trap of politicians when they change power. They start victimizing people. I always fight with Praveen and them, and they say, I'm the most unreasonable people. Okay, I say many crazy things. You know why? Because you can't say normal things. Once you say normal things, it means you agree with the status quo. It means you agree with the status quo. But once you say the things that are contradicting the status quo, it's crazy. It's craziness. You ought to disrupt the status quo. So I don't comply, and I don't care who likes it or not, because they will thank me when I'm dead. Because that's what they do. We say to Praveen, you cannot be seen to be targeting people who served under the Zuma administration. Even if you are fighting if you are fighting corruption, you must never fight corruption in a manner that suggests you've got a gangster mentality. That upetting namanje. And there's no one who's going to tell us anything about charge. That's a gangster mentality. This Zuma we hate so much, even him too has got the right, he must be treated fair. Now, Praveen says, everybody else in the state-owned companies who are seen to be working with these people must be suspended with immediate effect. Even if there is nothing, we can reinstate them later, but society must see us doing something. What are you saying about the careers of these people? What are you saying about the families of these people? Because just suspending this person, you are breaking families. And he puts that in writing. He puts that in affidavits that investors want to see us doing something, even if it means violation of rights. I'm not going to agree with that. I'm sorry, you can be caught up in Ramaphoria and all of that. They are coming for you. They are going to suspend you without giving you any reason, because the market must be happy that they are doing something. You cannot break spirits of people who have volunteered their services to serve the people of South Africa and destroy them like that because the market must see us doing something. That's not the rule of law. That's gangsterism. You thought I was born a bag now. He goes into finance, he takes SAA into finance. He goes back to this public enterprise, he goes fetches SAA from finance back into public enterprise. It becomes a personal property of an individual. And then I must keep quiet because you say crazy things. They are crazy because we shouldn't allow that. The reasons that existed for us to take SAA into finance, surely those reasons still exist today. If they do not exist, we must be told what happened. Cannot be. Don't love individuals to a point where you lose objectivity. Don't do that. Never trust individuals. Never trust our constitution. Individuals are going to disappoint you. So, it can't be correct because it's done by Praveen. That's not a rule of law. That is not justice, it's not fair. When they attacked Praveen, we said to Zuma, you can't do it. It's wrong. And when Praveen does the same, we're going to tell him the same thing we told Zuma. It's unacceptable. It's wrong. We ought to be consistent on principle. So, all I'm saying is that majority of our people, and I see a similar temptation in the judiciary, where when the regime changes, judiciary wants to warm up to new people and then leave the constitution. No. Judiciary must never see who is in office. They must see the constitution and the facts, not faces of individuals. Otherwise, we are finished. So, this democracy, it is going to work. Whether they like it or not, it is going to work for as long as judiciary continues to be independent. Some of us serve in the Judicial Service Commission where we appoint judges. And you can see political parties, deployees in that commission being tempted to appoint the judges who will be sympathetic to the ruling party. And our job is to go and defend the Constitution against a potential capture by the ruling party. The temptation is always there. Judiciary is contested, and if the ruling party see an opportunity to capture judiciary so that they can continue to loot, they will do it. But we are there to ensure that we safeguard and protect the independence of the judiciary so that it can continue with the rule of law without fear or failure. This rule of law is incomplete if it doesn't have women. Because in the absence of women, it's no longer a rule of law. The rule of law must reflect the demographics of South Africa. Now, in the legal fraternity, the law society must take deliberate decisions to empower women. And the empowerment of women should not be seen by law firms as an extra resources in my company. It's not an extra resource. It must be seen as a deliberate program by law firms, particularly those that are led by males, and are in particular white males. They must see it as a necessity to empower women. Because in the absence of women in the legal fraternity and in the judiciary, then the whole democracy, it is distorted. I mean, we must be worse than all of you, we politicians. I mean, we can become the most unreasonable people in society. But you must be the most reasonable people. So we cannot have more women in parliament and less women in the legal fraternity. Then it means you're overtaken politicians with madness. There must be more women in the profession than in parliament, because in parliament you find all sorts of people who are self-seeking and who got uncontrollable ambition for power, who will not make space for anyone. That's why they stay there until they are 90. But with you, there must be a deliberate intention to empower women. Once you have developed them and you are confident that these women now can stand on their own, don't employ them. Make them partners. Make them partners. They must be the right. And stop sleeping with these young girls from the university. Because you sleep with them, you get into a fight because of sleeping issues, they move from your firm to the other firm, they never succeed because they are followed by these people who don't see an equal partner but a tool to be used in a bedroom. Women are not a tool to be used in a bedroom. We must empower them as equal partners. I always talk about white people, later talk about Indians, and then they say, and then some of them say, Malema, I'm white, I want to vote here, but I feel excluded by you. And I said to them, women always say men are trash. I don't feel offended. I actually repeat after them, because I know men are trash. Men kill their partners. Men burn their partners. Men go and dump their partners the same way they dump rubbish. I'm not personally offended, because I know I don't do it, and I don't have to justify myself to anyone. If you are a trash, then you shall feel it. The same way, if you are a racist, you can't say Malema is insulting me. No. You must walk tall and clap hands and say, tell them Malema, I always tell them in my own community, they don't listen. Don't be offended, but once you are offended, the shoe is fitting. Wait. I'm not going to stop anyone who says men are trash, because I see them. I see them. I also commit some unacceptable things. So these women, when they shout at us and say we are trash, they are trying to correct us. That correct your way, because in South Africa, men have declared war against women. It's a war against defenseless women. The things that are being done to women, they are so scary. We used to be a country when you go outside South Africa, you will be asked, oh, South Africa, Mandela. Now we are asked, oh, South Africa, the women beat us. That's our image out there. We ought to change that. And it starts from school, it starts in your family, it starts in your workplace. See an equal partner. Men are threatened by equal pay with women. Okay, tomorrow, let's pay women the same thing, but not them. But you are not threatened by the next man who earns the same salary as you. See them the same way you see the next man. You will never have a problem. South Africans, we cannot have lawyers who do not pay maintenance. Lawyers who do not pay maintenance for their children. Because you must be the people who understand the law better than all of us. But because you know and understand the law, you know how best you will defend yourself against the maintenance. Hey, if you have made this child with this woman, and you gave her money to go and do abortion and all sorts of things, you told her, let's get it, she didn't do it. You don't want anything to do with those people, no problem. But these are your children. Make a plan. A plan must be made. It's so embarrassing to see lawyers in the papers refusing to pay maintenance. You are officers of the court. In refusing to pay maintenance, in engaging in criminal activities, you are contributing in denting the image of the judiciary, and in that way, you are undermining the rule of law. You cannot have lawyers involved in crimes that are actually disadvantaging the poor of the poorest, stealing money of RAF. Cannot be. But we cannot have lawyers that are unprofessional. I want to use black lawyers. I want them everywhere because we must empower them. But that must go hand in hand with professionalism. No one must treat you like you are a token of affirmative action, because you are not. But to be a token of affirmative action the day you act unprofessional. Why would a lawyer forget a court date? There are lawyers who forget court date. A client is there, the lawyer is nowhere to be found. There are lawyers who forget to file affidavits in time. There are lawyers who forget to respond the letter from the other side. That's generally unprofessional and unacceptable. Black or white. It doesn't matter. People end up going to, of course, all of this unprofessional conduct sometimes is because of the legacy of apartheid. Like, we didn't grow up in that environment where certain things are being done in a particular way. You will learn as you go. Because you are the first one in your family to be a professional. And that's why we shouldn't compare you with the white fellow South Africans, because majority of them have seen how things are done. They were taken into their own family firms. They grew up in an environment where even if their parents were not lawyers, but they were doctors, they were this, they were doing things in a particular way. So that environment dictates that they must conduct themselves in a particular way. But we don't have time. We can't be giving that excuse for far too long. It's going to be 25 years next year. We don't have time. We cannot wait for 50 years. We ought to change now and provide a better service, especially when it comes to our people. Let us love justice more than money. Yes, we must make money, but let's be driven more by justice, not money. This thing, money, you can't finish it. Ask Patrice Motsepe, he wants more and more and more. This money thing, you can't finish it. Oh, you went to school, you want to support your families well and good, but in your profession, be driven by justice. Our people need you. There are genuine cases where if you intervene, you can save life. Those people don't have money. If you intervene, you can save the roof over the head of poor children. Because somebody decided to engage in some mischief and wants to steal the house of poor people. They cannot afford. You are there, you hear the issue, and you say to them, well, to open a file, 20,000. They don't have anything. You can see an injustice. Don't tell me about those free things of JP of Gauteng. Legal aid. Every time I talk about legal aid, the JP gets very angry because I'm told it's the chairperson of the. Don't tell me about legal aid and all that. No. The legal aid is there, yes, it will continue to provide service. But you cannot come into contact with an injustice and pretend like you don't see it because there is no money. You must be driven by justice, not money. You will find a way, your lawyers will make money. Because if you succeed against this part, the cost and all types of things may follow after. That's when you will start making your own money. But the first intervention should be driven by justice. Because justice in South Africa is extremely expensive and is exclusive to those who can afford. A lot of people have lost. One day I was sitting at my grandmother's house, long time ago when I was in Kosas. People just walked in and said, this house is being bought. We're taking it. And she had nothing, I had nothing. And I realized this was fake when they said, let's pray. Since when do estate agent people say, let's pray? Through those things of buying houses, I said, I'll wait here. I went to look for a spade at the back there. I said, out. No one who stays here. I will see you in court if you brought this. I'm not here. Out. Imagine if I was not there. They would have made her to sign and they will take her out of the house. Many people in this issue were victims of such activities. They had nowhere to go. So we ought to be there for those people. And not for anything, for justice. I tell the leadership of the EFF that if you earn a salary, and that salary only takes care of your immediate family, you must know you are selfish. Help somebody you don't know, and somebody you will not even remember when you meet. If you never met a person in your entire life, in your career as a lawyer, if you have never met a person who says, do you remember me? I'm the one you paid the fees for, and you don't remember that person, you must know you have not contributed enough to society. Especially in a country where unemployment is too high, in a country where poverty levels are too high, inequality extremely high, in a country where you yourself come from a very difficult past. You're sitting in your comfort zone. You are a professional with some form of income. You have never helped a stranger. You must know that you are still to contribute. You have not contributed. There are children out there who need shoes. There are children out there who need a meal. A meal. You've got enough at your home. Some you even throw away. Identify that family. Help them without expecting anything, without even reminding them when they speak back at you that you can't say that to me because I help you. If you say that, you are not genuinely helping. The day we all do that, that will be enough justice, because it means that we now embrace each other, black and white, poor and rich. It doesn't matter. We are affected by other people's problems because we are those people. The legal fraternity, highly respected in our society, please lead us by example. Lead us by example. This is a challenge because an injustice is not only matters brought before court. Injustice occurs every day right in front of your eyes. It might not be a matter that requires a court, but you can deal with it if you accept the responsibility that by virtue of being in the legal fraternity, I am a leader, and therefore leaders must lead by example. Thank you very much.